Make sure. What's good? What's good? All right. Hopefully you can hear me now. Um, Welcome to the show, FreeShow Friday. And let's see here. We got some folks online with us. Welcome, welcome, welcome to my man David Bradley. First one chiming in. Good to see you, my friend. We got Tayil from Alabama. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Forgive me. We got Rick Fletcher on the line, and let's see here. Who else? Who else? Uh, Florida. Okay, I see you, David. I see you. I'm glad you're doing well. And then Al Kelkoff. Good morning. Good morning. Akpan Anwana. Good day. Watching from Nigeria. What's going on? 4:05 p.m. Friday. Excellent. Excellent. Uh, Rick, bachelor's in religion and theology from Liberty Online. Sweet, sweet, sweet. You may have told me that before. If you did, forgive me for forgetting. That is so cool. Uh, still staying up all night, playing with whatever you just covered. I just covered. That's hilarious. I feel the same way. I look at videos and release. Well, today we're going to do what I've done. I tried to record a video later on, or like 2 days ago, I guess, about my first impressions of the new release, and I was just playing with all the stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm not ready to do a video on it, but I'm going to learn more about it. So I was just playing around with everything and trying to figure it out. So that was pretty cool, pretty fun. But yeah, so I'm excited to be able to talk with you guys about the 1.4.1 update today, and then we'll have some discussion about stage view. That was a video that I released this week. It's a pretty long video, but it's intense. And then since then, there's some updates that I want to make sure we're aware of that came out with the 1.4.1 update that were not there when I was recording the stage view video literally like 2 days before. So that's just the price we pay for having such great development team where Christopher, you guys saw him on the interview, he's constantly working and making things better. So he literally came out with an update to fix some of the problems that I ran into when I made the stage view video that I just made that's over an hour long. So, or right at about an hour, I can't remember. We got Albert Harris says, my question has to do with Ecamm and FreeShow working together. Okay. And then David A, what's going on? What's going on? And so, yeah, so we'll talk about all these different things. So let's start with the first impressions of 1.4.1. I really like what they did. And this is literally specifically related to stage view because, and let me share my screen to make sense of it. So I got FreeShow here. And for stage view, if I go to stage view now, so this is a big deal. I don't know how to do that. I might have to make a follow-up video or something like that, or I'll pull this piece out and make it be the follow-up video to tie it into that, the stage view video that I just came out with. But the idea is, in the past, we didn't have this until we got to 1.4 where you could arrange the items. And so in the video that I made, I was just like, yeah, this is first come, first serve. So when you drop an item in, you just better make sure it's where you want it. Cause somebody asked about making a backdrop last time we met. And they were asking about, can you put a backdrop on a stage display, like a different, background? And I was like, I never thought to do it because I like the black. I prefer it because it's more subtle and I want it to be kind of indescript, I guess you could say, or not drawing too much attention. I don't know about you guys, but when I visited ministries or church services and things like that, I literally look around. I think I told you guys that. I'm like scoping out the place for all the technology, all the media. I'm looking at cameras. I'm looking at screens. I'll usually my wife usually doesn't let me, but I'll try to just kind of graze by the media booth if they've got one and just kind of glance over, see the different soundboards they're using and the computers they're using and all that kind of stuff. And that's always fun to me. But one of the things that can be very distracting, because I'm already distracted to begin with, so it's not their fault. But if their stage view is bright, right? And so I've been to a service where they had a stage view in the very back, right, which makes sense. And then they had two on the stage, one on each side of the stage. There was like, I don't know, like if it was like a theater stage, I guess it would be like where the curtain is, right, where the curtain would come out. So it was set back in the stage. It wasn't like on the floor on the stage. It was up in the air. And I was like, My wife said, "What is that? What's on that TV back there?" And it wasn't that it was bright, I don't think, but it was just distracting. And I think it was bright. I think it might have been like a sky blue or something like that, maybe green. But I would encourage you guys to make your stage view as indiscreet as possible, right? So not indiscreet, discreet as possible, right? Make it dark as possible and not too flashy, but does do the role of getting the attention of the people that are on stage, but nobody else, right? And that has to do with placement as well, not just colors and stuff, but colors play a part in that. So I wouldn't recommend making a big background, but you can, and you can arrange it by just moving things up and down on the arrange items option that's available now, which is really cool. Hey, what's going on, Phil? So this is a big deal because, like I said before, we didn't have that. And there was another thing that came up in the video, and I had to make a little post and pin it at the top, is that when I select current view, for example, here, it pops up now and it shows my Free Show Friday, right? Welcome to Free Show Friday. But in the video, it was actually showing my live stream feed. And I figured out that if I go to this little icon here to the more options, the source output for your current output is where you would determine what comes up on that. And it was defaulting to my live stream. So it was looking like this. It was just looking like a blank little slate or whatever. And it was just weird. And so what I found out was, okay, I need to go here and change it. And I made it to be primary and it works out great. All right. So that's something to keep in mind for if you are trying to have multiple outputs and it's defaulting to one that you don't want to be on your stage view, then you would just go to your options and on my end, it looked like a little carrot or a little arrow icon. And I don't even know if I make this wider, I don't even think it, okay. Yeah. So it shows up there like that. So if you've got a wider screen and you've got it, this right column extended out, you'll be able to see the options and you can go back and forth. But in your options, you'll just select the source output that you want to show up on your item called current output. All right. Now, yet again, I don't recommend using current output just because it does take a load on your system. And then for me, I'm getting rid of it real quick just because I'm running OBS and live streaming with you guys real time, and then also running Free Show at the same time and recording as well. Well, look, I didn't even start my recording. Let me record now. So recording as well. So that takes a toll on my system altogether. All right. And so that was a big deal. Now, this arrange items, major, really cool, very helpful. There's another feature though that is something that I've never used before, and I want to get you guys' feedback on it. If you right click in your stage view or on any item like in the edit screen, but we'll look at it here. You got this option called conditions, and you got the rearrange as well. So you can actually rearrange by moving things to the front, forward, back, move to back. That's a really cool feature that I don't remember that being there even on the edit screen where you could arrange it in that way, which is really cool. But if it was, it's here now on the stage view. But now we've got this option called conditions. And this is, look, I told you guys Free Show Friday, we were going to start with beginner level stuff. Well, the beginner level stuff is over. Now we're getting into intermediate / advanced level stuff to just talk about this update specifically. And I don't know how long we're going to be today. I don't have much else to talk about outside of answering questions that you all might have. So I'm excited to do that. But for the 1.4.1 updates, we've got this thing called conditions. And it is crazy cool, especially if you're a logical thinker, right? This is like a engineering / developer mindset that I got a part of that, but not completely. I'm very logical, don't get it twisted, but this is beyond me in terms of the use case for it. So I want you guys to chime in the chat. Where and how would you use something like this in terms of conditions for an item? And the first thing that it says is show item if. So it gives you this condition of to show this particular item on the screen, on the stage display in this case, if it says text, you can make it be variable, you can make it be dynamic value, whatever you want here, is or is not, has or has not. And then it goes to a value, right, which is the only option there. And you can put that value in. And that is crazy, right? And then empty is the default option, right? So allow a show item if text is not empty would be an option, right? And then you'll see this little icon, this little light bulb show up in the corner of that particular item. So my current slide will show if the text is not empty. If the text is empty, it's going to be nothing there, right? So let's prove it. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that. Let's go to a show. We're gonna just do a new show, and we're gonna do stage test show, and we'll make it be an empty one. We're gonna do a new slide, and let's do another new slide. This slide is gonna not be empty, so I'm gonna add some text in here and just say not empty. All right. And I'm just showing you how it works, right? You guys can kind of come. I want to hear some ideas of how it works for you in terms of what does this trigger in your mind? What does it activate to make you think about, right? So if I go here, we're looking at my stage view here. So I got this here. It shows current slide is that, but there's a condition on this. It should not show if there's nothing in that box, which that makes sense. It would just be blank anyway. But let's see what it does. If I actually activate this show, that box went completely away. Like there's no outline for it. There's nothing, right? So that's kind of crazy and really cool. So I'm on this one, but the next slide shows. So if I hit the next slide and it shows up, and that next slide, that current slide text shows up and it says not empty, which is really cool. All right. Really, really cool. Um, but how would you use it? That would be my question. How would you use that? Let's see here. So Al says it could be used as a reminder that the speaker is running out of time. That is crazy. That would be crazy cool. Yeah, I like that. I like that. How would you do this? So it would be used as a reminder if the speaker's running out of time, like just make it go blank. But so let's go to the edit screen. So I can right click here and I can go to conditions as well. We get the same option, right? So it literally says show item. So I can show this text box if. It doesn't give me an option to add like a timer though. So I would associate the speaker's stuff in terms of running out of time with a timer. Um, and then making that timer like turn red or something like that at the end, like it'll say if it goes over for the default. And I was looking here to see if that was one of the options. So they got the variable and they got the dynamic value. Now the question comes up, dynamic values, can those be timers? Let's see. So we got time, we got show, text, video, metadata. No. Yeah, so there wouldn't be one for a timer. So it wouldn't be that. The timer kind of stands alone, which is fine. I was just checking to make sure. So that's another idea. What's another idea you guys can come up with in terms of what would be a reason for that? Thanks for sharing that, Al. When I was looking at this, the first thing that came to my mind was the like it's just another area that you have more control, right? As a media person. So to me, it solves a problem that I don't necessarily have right away, but I'm thinking about it in terms of a problem. So the problem could be um, we don't want something to show on a certain screen if, right? And so that's where this is show this if, or don't show anything on this screen if there is an image up, right? So if we're running our announcements, we don't want to show any text. Don't show this text box if there's um, images on the screen, like slides showing up that are showing just announcements or something like that. That would make sense to me in that way as well, potentially. That's an idea that comes to my mind. But yeah, so that's a big one. The conditions, and I say big in terms of it's a new feature completely, like it's completely added, never been in FreeShow before. So it's a big deal. And like I said, I just haven't had time to process to think about how I would use it, but it's a really cool use case potential to it that, like I said, it solves a problem that I don't have, but I'm sure somebody that had the beta made some comments and some feedback to give the team some insight and some feedback as to why it was important to them, right? It says, if no text, don't show text box. For sure. That's a big one. I like that one for sure. and it just makes it look like you just empty, like it's almost like somebody's actively doing something in the background. Um, that if and I think that only matters though if you have a text box that has like a let me see in my templates, like you've got the gradient background to it or something like that, or like even like a lower thirds. That would make sense. Like don't show if there's nothing there. That would make sense. Or let me see here, scriptures. Like if you got a gradient background like this and there's no text there. Yep, I like that to say don't show if there's no text. So if there's a portion in the song where the band is just kind of riffing and they're just kind of going in and just playing some music and there's no singing going on at that time, you got to slide this blank for that. Um, that would make sense that it would just not show this item in terms of that gradient box. Or if you had your scripture boxes, right? The scripture boxes, I'm trying to think. Scriptures, I don't know if that would make sense to say if it's blank. You really wouldn't run into that. Um, I don't think you would. Could you run into that with that? Like, could you make a blank scripture box? I don't think you could. In my mind, at least, I can't process it. But yeah, that makes sense. I like that. Don't show it if it's empty text, right? So it looks like you just deleted everything off the slide or deleted the slide without having to um, go up here and then get rid of that slide. That you didn't have to clear a slide. You just had a condition built in, which I like. That's really cool. Great idea. Um, let's see here. What other ideas do you guys have for the conditions? For the conditions. As I say that, I don't know if you can do it real time while you guys are watching the live stream, but I just made a post about who uses a stage view currently, right? So I just made a post. I want to get some feedback. I just did a poll, I guess it is, of who uses a stage view. There's also one on there that talks about what's your level of free show usage in terms of do you feel like you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced? And I must say the beginners took up they went up to 50%, over 50%, I believe, right now in that. So we got a lot of beginners, which is great because it means that we got a lot of people starting with free show, which I love the idea of because I believe free show is just a blessing to any ministry, right? Whether you coming from a program that you like or you're coming from a program that you want to upgrade from, right? Free show is going to be a blessing to your ministry no matter what, I believe, just because if you're coming from a program that you like, but you're paying for it and you're getting free show now for free, that's a benefit to the ministry. And it also streamlines it to where you can actually do training a lot easier too, because now people don't have to pay for it to get trained or train on it or learn with it at home, right? They can just download it and start using it. If you're upgrading from a program that you don't want to keep using and you're upgrading a free show, that's a blessing because not only is it free, it also is robust and it allows you to do that upgrade, which is great. All right. Um, any other updates in 1.4.1 that stand out? And I'm going to pull up free show just to make sure I'm not missing anything. And let's see here. We'll pull that over here. Let's pull this up. So if we go here to, I think, downloads and we view the change log, we got the item conditions, the stage rearrange item order, which we talked about both of those. They also added this audio file metadata dynamic values, which is really cool. In terms of if you go into, let's go to edit, for example, we go here and dynamic values now. You can go to audio and you'll see this metadata option for your audio. And let's see here, audio file metadata dynamic values. Those you can put anywhere on your slide, which is really cool. And you would just have to make sure there's some metadata there. Now, for me, the metadata that I have on all of my music, because I get all my stuff from like Artlist or something like that. I don't really download like popular music, but the title of the audio, I've tested that out. That's pretty cool. Audio subtitle, if there's one, that's cool. The artist, that would be nice as well. And then the album, that's cool as well. If you want to include that information, that is really nice to have. And it's just from the metadata, right? So if you're playing music and it has that metadata with it, you can just add these dynamic values into your show and it'll automatically show it. So it might be something that you could add as like an overlay or something along those lines where I can see some benefit to that, which is really cool. Really cool. And let's see here. Here's some more metadata. Let's see, a meta number, title, composer, publisher, artist. Yeah, all that. So audio and this one, just the metadata one, I think is the one that's the new update. This one stood out to me because that's what I've got, but you can do this one as well. Let's see, I'm gonna go over. Um, and then now playing title slash cover file generator. Has anybody played with that one? I couldn't figure out what that is. So a now playing title file generated. I don't know where it generates it at, so I couldn't really like speak to that one. But let me know if you guys got to play with the now playing title or cover file that gets generated um, in your 1.4.1 update. Like I said, I could not figure out what that would look like, what that would be like, but that is a thing apparently that is available, which is really cool as well. And then if you guys remember from the interview with Christopher and Michael Bird from FreeShow, this idea of chums, and that's a funny name to me. It makes me laugh every time I think about it because it just sounds like a cartoon or something. But chums is church management systems. All right. And what that is the church apps version of their church management system, which apparently there are a lot of those out there. As I've told you guys before, growing up in a small church setting, I was a kid and then as an adult even, I never used or had my hands on any church management system information. I don't know if it's because they didn't trust me or they didn't have it, right? So the likelihood is they just didn't use or have anything like that because I was a youth pastor for some years. And I worked and served with men's ministry and media ministry and things like that. And that I've helped with emails and things like that. And these churches that I've worked with, they didn't have like a management system. Sometimes I would help them roll out something like that from like a website that they had where they would keep emails and they would kind of manage it that way. And it was a kind of a built-in church management system where it would collect the tithes and offerings online and allow them to navigate and process that and, pull out the reports at the end of the year for taxes and stuff like that. So Chums is a church management system that's available through church apps. And the way you would get to your syncing of it, if you actually use Chums, is you would go into your connections on the left out of the settings, and you would see the planning center, which is another church management system. You will see Chums right below it. Okay. And you can connect to Chums. I have not connected to Chums yet, but that is really cool. I really like the idea of being able to do that because Planning Center was there first. That's been over a month or two that we've had Planning Center. And I did set up a Planning Center account, just looking at it and seeing how it works. It does come at a cost. You have to pay for it. So I got the free version with only 1 or 2 members or whatever it was. But the more people you have in the system from your church, the more you would pay, I believe, with Planning Center. With Chums, just like Free Show, everything is completely free. All right. So it's a really cool deal. So if you all are in a ministry like any that I grew up in, where there's not a lot of church management systems in place currently, this is the best way to start with it. And I can't speak to how it works just because I've never used it. But if it's anything like Free Show, I'm sure it's going to be excellent for a ministry, especially starting out not coming from one already. I believe they have like import option if you're coming from other systems, because some churches, like I said, smaller churches even may have one. So let me know, do you all have a church management system at your church that you currently use? I'm just curious for our conversation today, as that is a big part of this update, right? So that's really cool to have Chums integrated, and that's a part of church apps. And then they made a few tweaks down here. I looked at these to see if any of those will relate to anything that I've run into. None of them related to me. So definitely check the tweaks when they do make those, because some of those might relate to you. Actually, I take that back. So the start action by name API, that one does impact me. I have not tested it out yet because I use Companion. And so with Companion, I would have to go around and find an API action. But now it says you can do a start action by API, by name with an API action, which in the past you had to use an ID. And I made a video on my Companion video. If you ever were interested in using it, it kind of gives you an idea of how it works. Let me see, I'm gonna pull up Companion. Right, so I've got OBS and Free Show running right now. If I go to my buttons, I'm gonna go to my Free Show Friday buttons. You can see here, we've talked about this already, but if I were to look at this one, I believe there's an action here. Yeah. So I got this run action API. Okay. And it's an API ID. and it says the name of it is ID, and then it's got these crazy numbers. I had to go to my backup files and then go to the settings, I believe it was. I forget. In the video I made a video documenting how I do it, but and I paste that number in that ID code in here, and it's a real roundabout way. And I believe what this this update allows you to do is it allows that start action by name to be a little bit easier, where you don't have to go and try to find this ID code. You can do it by name. So I don't know if it's in here or not. Let me see. If I go to FreeShow and let's see if they got a start action. It's not in here yet. Let's see. I see select show. Next slide. Next project. Clear all. Change. So the only thing I can think of is that it would be maybe in the APIs here. So if we go to resources and let's scroll down and look. Oh, wait, I saw something else. Let me go back real quick. Big Focus Companion. Okay, I was like, what's going on? So they got Big Focus Companion link, right? But use our own API to integrate FreeShow. So let's go here. So this is project APIs, right? So all these are APIs. So this is the actual API, and this is like the API ID, I think is what they call it. The name of the API, I guess. Yeah. So the API ID is the run action. In this case, it is index select project, and then you would put it in there. But they're saying there's one that is a start action by name, and that shows, let's see here. I don't see, I'm looking to make sure I don't miss it. Presentations, right? I see that. Select group, lock output, start stage. You can do a ID, select stage layout. That makes sense. And then this start camera one. Now this one is crazy. If you go to and you want to use Companion and you want to use your camera in FreeShow, this was one that stood out to me that was new. So if you just click on this, it'll actually, so it says, okay, allow FreeShow wants to access your camera. So you can say allow this time. And what it does is it gives you the ID and the name of each of your cameras you got connected. So I've got a FaceTime HD camera, I've got an OBS virtual camera, and I got a USB 3 camera, which is the one that I'm using right now. This is my capture card. That's really cool. And it automatically gives you the whole code that you would need, the group ID and everything, which is important if you're trying to put this into Companion and trigger the start camera, right? And let's see, overlays, audio, timers, visual, other. I see the run action. That's the one I usually use. I don't see the start action by name. And does anybody use APIs currently in the chat? Let me know. Let's see here. Tayel says their church management system is Excel. That's real talk. That's literally, if there was a management system in our churches that I grew up in, if it was one, it was probably Microsoft Excel, and it was the secretary or somebody that acted as a secretary sometimes during the year would input information in there and export it out and try to get a spreadsheet that would work for this. Basically, it was for taxes, for us to manage and make sure people can get their tax documentation if they made donations, you know, contributions with tithes and offerings and things like that. So I don't see where to find that that particular tweak. And so that's not anything. I'll hit the wrong one. Let me go back. That's not anything unique. It's just that's just me. I don't know. Let's see. So 1.4. Okay. Yeah. So the start action by name API action. I'm just curious how you get to it. That's really cool. I just don't know how to get to it. Then they got a bunch of bug fixes here. Double audio feedback. I have run into that before. I'm glad they got that fixed. I thought it was just me using OBS. I didn't think anything of it. Fix editor text removed. Fix close pop-up showing up on Windows. So whenever these happen, I just kind of go through and look and see if there's anything that stands out that impacted me. Most of these that I saw didn't have it. I hadn't run into them, but you may have. And so this is another reason to do those updates and those upgrades. I always do that. I try to read everything, I should say. I don't say I read everything, but I like to read terms and conditions for stuff that I'm signing up for. I'll read manuals. Whenever I buy a new piece of technology, I'm the one that reads the manual because I just want to understand what the capacity or the full functionality is. That's my approach to FreeShow. I just want to understand how it works, and then after that, I can make some steps to help understand what I can do with it or what it can do for me, and know that I'm, know the limits of it, basically. And this is really cool too. All-time downloads. They almost hitting 2 million all-time downloads. If you listen to the interview with Mike and Christopher, the developer, and Mike is he's a partner on the board, I believe. They talked about, they have about 9,000, at least to date at that time. And I don't know how recent that number was, but they were having like 9,000 users per week. So per weekend, Sunday service, typically they were having 9,000 users at a time using FreeShow, which is really cool as well. And millions, almost millions, I can say, but over almost 2 million people have downloaded the program. And so that means that there's some interest there. So people are interested in using FreeShow. And that just tells me, like I said, it speaks to the fact that there are a lot of beginners out there because they're getting it. And I think the challenge that people run into is that because it's free, they forget or they don't realize how powerful it is, right? And so they just kind of keep it on the back burner and not really commit to it. And when it comes to technology, that's a big deal, right? I remember when I switched to using DaVinci Resolve, which is a video editor, and I've been using Adobe Premiere. Hold on just a second, you guys. And so I was used to using Premiere Pro through Adobe, and I had to pay monthly for that. And I was going to switch over to start using DaVinci Resolve. And what DaVinci Resolve does is they have a free version that you can use that's really robust. And if you like it, then you can upgrade and pay for the full version if you want. But you can use the free version forever, right? And so I started out using the free version, and it was a big learning curve. It was difficult, and I would just go back to Premiere. I would like try to edit a project, and I'm like, I don't have time to figure that out. I'm going back to the thing that I know. And I think a lot of people are on that fence of they see it, they might see a video or two or hear about it from someone, but they go back to what they know, what they're comfortable with. And I'm curious if you guys, did anybody run into that challenge when you guys switched to FreeShow? If you have currently converted, or if you're in the middle of that, you're in the middle of that transition, that could be a challenge, right? For me, I had to do it because OpenLP just froze up on my computer and I messed it up. I literally broke OpenLP, which is what I was using. And I had to get a new program. And I couldn't just re-download OpenLP, even though I tried. I had to figure out another program that I could use that would work with Windows and Mac and allow me to do everything that I needed to do, or that at least I was used to doing in OpenLP. And so FreeShow is a perfect solution for me. And then having those XML Bibles already from OpenLP that I was using, they work directly with FreeShow as well. So I was able to import those right away and good to go. So yeah, that's my story. Let's talk about what questions do you guys have about the FreeShow 1.4.1 updates? Did you have any first impressions? Have you downloaded it yet? Right? Like send me a yes on the download if you have, right? Post a yes in the downloads if you have. If you download the new 1.4.1. I think I just downloaded it this week. It just came out, I think, on maybe Wednesday, maybe Tuesday. I can't remember. There's some things that are easier on ProPresenter than on FreeShow. Tell me about it, David. That's good to know and hear, because I'm sure there's a lot of, I say a lot, there's a lot of things that ProPresenter offers that people love, because a lot of people use ProPresenter. I just have never been one to use it. So Al has done the download, which is great. But yeah, since I've never used ProPresenter in a capacity of in a live environment, I can't speak to the things that are better, but or easier, I should say, when you're in your words, which makes sense. What are some of the things that you find that were easier? And is it just because of the learning curve, or is it literally just simpler built in the system, if that makes sense, right? So for me, for example, right now, I switched to DaVinci Resolve. It's probably been 3 years ago now, maybe more. And when I first switched, I would say there's a lot of things that are easier to do in Premiere Pro, which is another video editing program, but that was only because I was more familiar with it. Now, if you ask me, I'm gonna say, yeah, DaVinci Resolve is a whole lot easier, just because I'm more familiar with it, probably. But then I can look at it soberly and say, yeah, it's just simpler here because it works better, right? So Tail says no download yet. Definitely get the download. I haven't seen anything that was there's a bug or a problem with it. It only fixed, especially that stage view, which is we're going to talk about next. That stage view update is major when it comes to this particular update, okay? Because they did upgrade the stage view in 1.4, but 1.4.1 is a really important update for that that rearranging the order of your items, especially if you wanted to put a special background on your stage view. Let's see here. Al says, do you know if there are any ways to format the stage display text, like putting bullets in it? Ooh, that I don't know. That's a good question. Let's go into my shows. Let's see. This is my Free Show Friday. I'm trying to look and see if I got a show that has bullets. So this one's got bullets. All right, so let's go here. No. The bullets in here look real funky, right? So I actually did these bullets. So let me show you how I made these bullets. Because if you go to my edit screen, it doesn't look like I have bullets on this page, right? I literally went into I think it's my text. No. Oh, list. I turned on the list. So the way it's formatted, so you can see here, I've got the little format icon here for the list. And so it's literally formatted just as lines of text with an enter sign. I enter down or, return down, and I went to the next line, pasted in or whatever it was. And then it automatically formats it with the bullets that are circles, right? So if I were to change this to be squares, and I hit refresh, it'll show up as these squares. So it doesn't look that smooth in the stage view though. I must admit, it looks kind of wonky. There we go. And so, yeah, I don't know that you can format the text in that way. Let me see something here. I got this thing open up on me. Okay. Let's get rid of that. I'm gonna clear this slide because you guys are seeing it. Let's see. All right, and I'll clear that out. All right. But yeah, so the bullets in the stage view, I don't see a way that you can make those show up because let's go back into it though, because it may be now, but I could be wrong. So if I go into my stage view, we get the text box. So we get a text box, and yeah, I do see that. So you can actually go in and it gives you all the same text box additions, but this is not from the slide. This is literally just text that I put in here, right? So if I go to my text box, I get the same thing. I can do, let me see, lines. I take that back. Text, line height. I don't see a list option. Outline, special. No, the only thing I see is that press action option that we talked about last time. So I don't see a way to do a list, but I do see a way to do everything else. And so this is stuff that you would type in manually, but it won't show up anywhere else, like on any slide, right? This is just on the stage view. So nobody else would see that except the people on stage. And then I can make that be auto-sized to where to automatically fill it. Otherwise, you can change the font size that way. But that's a great question. I don't see a way to do that. That's a good point. But you can format it, in terms of the line height. You can format the font size, the font color, all that bold, all that stuff. You can do all that. And then David says it's easier, talking about ProPresenter, to set up looks than figuring out styles. Oh, really? And see, that's funny because I've seen a lot of videos about ProPresenter. Like I said, I know enough about it. I actually like the way FreeShow does it, but this probably that default, that learning curve is that I like the way FreeShow does it because that's the first time I've ever used something like that personally. And if you started out using it at ProPresenter, you got accustomed to that format and the way it's arranged because it is arranged a whole lot different. I must admit, I've seen that. And what I saw was it was almost like a checklist, and those checklists it reminds me of like a Behringer X32, I believe it is, soundboard, where you can actually go in and change like outputs and inputs and stuff. And those little checkbox lists, they confuse me so bad. Like I get lost. I completely am like, I don't know what to pick here. I don't know what to select. So I think it's a matter of the way that we think that does that too. But I see what you're saying. So the looks are easier to do. Let's see here. In any layout, you can select visibility to do display if contains text on any text window with just a few keystrokes. So in any layout, you can select visibility to display if it contains text. I got you. On any text window with just a few. That makes sense. And so to me, layout, you can select visibility display any text window. I think that makes sense. I know for me, one of the things that I like about FreeShow, and let me know if you've used this before, David, or tried to compare to look at it at least, is when you go to your styles, have you ever played with the active layers on the slide, right? And this is kind of like what you talk about when you talk about the looks in terms of what things do and what they don't do. Um, and you can do an override slide layout, and you can actually set um, like a like for scripture, for example, you can set the default for one verse, for two verses, three verses, and four verses, which is really cool, right? I like that. But then you also can set if it's going to show slide text, if it's going to show overlays, you can turn that on or off for your particular style. And this one, for example, is my default style. And then you can set the max number of lines. This function or space right here to me is kind of like a hidden gem or a hidden secret in FreeShow that a lot of people don't use a lot. I use it all the time whenever because I'm always my model is our motto I should say. And let me we kind of well we're doing Q&A, which is cool. Um, but my motto is to start with your templates, right? Make all the templates that you want, right? Make them look the way you want, arrange them how you want them to look in terms of just a template, and then go to your styles and set up a style for that and name it what you want to name it. Maybe you name it worship time, or maybe you name it live stream for Wednesday night, live stream for Sunday night, whatever you want to name your style, and then you set this up however you want to, and then you go to your outputs and you pick which one is going to show on which output. But once you do that, you can have as many styles as you want. Then you set up your actions to control and configure it for each output. And that's what I like to do personally is that I'll literally add an action to each show that switches the style for the output pretty simply and pretty easily. But it's because I already have the base, like you said, the looks. I already have my looks set up for the style, and I just add an action and just make it change whenever that show comes up. And that's kind of, I'm guessing it's the equivalent of what you're talking about. And it is only a few clicks, but you still have to set it up, right? So it always about preparation. And if you're not prepared to do it, it can be cumbersome too. Let's see here. Al says it would be helpful for the pastor's notes. Oh, adding the bullets in. Yeah, I could see that being helpful for the pastor's notes. Yeah, I wish I knew a way to do that. That's a good point. So in the stage view, having that there. Now, what I will say though is that'll be difficult to put your pastor's notes in there and keep pasting them in on the stage. Um, but you could, I guess you could make a dynamic value. I'm just trying to think about that dynamic value piece um, for it to show up properly. So if you were to add your pastor's notes here, or do they have an option to show notes? I don't think they have a dynamic value for notes. Yeah, they do. Yeah, slide notes. So I would just put a dynamic value into your stage view and just add in your slide notes here. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be, and you might do this already, so forgive me, but it doesn't mean it's going to be in bullets. Um, but it will put those in there to where you don't have to manually keep changing them or whatever it is. You just time to each slide, which I think that's a pretty cool idea. I like that idea. Um, let's see here. Been using ProPresenter for years, but want to switch. Oh, come on, Dave. So you gotta switch over, man. You gotta try it out at least. Okay, Al says the same. He's trying to do the same, using ProPresenter for years. Well, you guys, we got to figure out what it is that you like. So you said I've been experimenting with the actions in FreeShow. Yeah, the actions in FreeShow are gold. Um, like, yeah, that's literally what it is. So, for my live stream right now with you guys, I'm using actions to, so I go to my functions and I go to actions. And so I got a bunch of them listed out here, and that can be overwhelming. But the thing about it for me is when I use my actions, I don't go in here and actually click them, which is what I started out doing. As a beginner, I would just make an action and I would go in here and try to click the action. I don't do that no more. I just drag the action where I want it to go, and it'll automatically be there when I start that show. I don't even mess with it anymore. Or I have it set in here for companion, right? So my free show share screen action. So if I right click on this and we go to edit, I want you guys to get a glimpse of what it is I do. So there's two parts to this action. One of them is it changes the output style. So it changes my main output. Let's see here. Oh no, not changing. It changes. So specific outputs is what I've got it set to. And these are a list of all the different outputs I got. I got a live stream, primary, SMI, which is a ministry name, and then stage, and then stream. I think stream is just a old bogus one I just forgot about. But it literally changes my live stream output to be stream training, which is what I want that to be. And that's for the free show share screen. But for free show share show, let's see what I got there. Same idea. I got to change output style. But it changes two things. It changes my live stream to be stream training, but it changes my primary to be default. Now, this was important for me because in OBS, I'm using NDI to get these particular shows to show up. And so you guys can't see my OBS. Let me see if I can. That was the challenge I ran into trying to use OBS. I was like, I can't show you guys my OBS, but let's see. I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna minimize it. And so in these settings, it literally has my layout. So I got it's not gonna let me pull it over, but I've got Free Show Friday split screen, share, Free Show Friday split screen show, Garry headshot, and all those. And so those are all tied to inside here. So I got Free Show live stream there, and it's literally on top of everything. And that's how you can see the title of this particular thirds overlay that I've got there. And then I don't even have my primary in this particular free show or OBS scene. It literally is not there because I'm not doing a show. I wanted to share my screen, but I changed, excuse me, I put an action to make it change to show primary where I do have the primary in my OBS, and it automatically does it based on that, which is an action I set up in companion, right? So I use those actions, I put them in companion to where I tie OBS to those free show actions, and it works perfectly, which I love. I'm so excited about that. I love that it does that. So let's see, I've been experimenting with actions. That's good. You can display the slide notes as a box on the stage view. Oh, I didn't even know that. Let me see. Let's see. So you said, are you asking me that? Let me see. Al, are you asking me or telling me that one? Let me see. Because I didn't even look at that. So the stage, I got a text box here, but you said you can add notes. How do you do that? Outside, I mean, I did it this way. Don't get it. I know how to do it from a text box, and then you add a dynamic value. Like I would do it here. And let me see. You said you can display the slide notes as a box on the stage view. So you're telling me, how do you do it, Al? Let me know. Because if I just forgot how to do it. If I knew how to do it before, because I'm completely drawing a blank now as to how to add the notes into the stage view for it. And we're kind of in our customizing stage view discussion / Q&A stuff. Oh, I think it's over here. No, show labels, label color. No, it's not over there. Items. When I go to items, it doesn't give me an option called slide notes, but I might be overlooking it. So I see the text box. Are you talking about, let me ask you this, Al, did you update yet? Earlier I was asking who updated. Oh, Al, you did update to 1.4.1. Where do you see the slide notes? Let me know. Let's see here. And then David says, haven't figured out how to do our closing video while showing invitational lyrics on the main. Okay, so I haven't figured out how to do our closing video. And your closing video is on the live stream, is my guess. Is that right? Let me know, Dave. I think the action will work like switching audience look. Yeah, the actions will kind of do whatever you want it to do. So they could work like that. They definitely could. But what I'm thinking you're trying to do is you're trying to show something on one screen and not on the other, is basically the best way I could say it. Is that right? So you want to show something on the live stream and not on your main screen. So we've talked about it a little bit before. So I'm gonna go to my show and I'm gonna go to I'm gonna add a new. So we're gonna put it at the very end. We'll add a new slide. We'll just make it blank. All right, so I'm gonna go to media. So you got a video already. So I'm gonna go to media and I'm gonna add a video in here and I'm gonna choose media. I don't know what video I have, but let's see here. Clean backdrops, video backdrops. We'll put a video backdrop in here. Yeah, we'll do this one. Okay. So this is a video. All right. I think I got this off of Canva a while back. All right. So I got a video here. Now, your question had to do with how do you make it, how to do our closing video while showing invitational lyrics. Now, tell me what's the invitational lyric? Just out of curiosity, I'm guessing that has to do with words, right? Or text on the main, right? And if so, I'm going to go ahead and go to items again, and I'm going to add in a text box. And that text box shows up here. All right. And so this is, I'm going to call it invitation. When you say lyrics, I'm thinking about a song. But if it's an invitation to Christ, I get that too. Invitational lyrics are here. All right. So we got that there. And then we've got this here. So I can go down to arrange items. The text box is on top, which is good, but I don't see it there on top for whatever reason. All right. Okay, there we go. So I click out of it, you'll see it there. Okay, so I got two different things here, but we want them to show up on two different screens. This text box, we don't want to show up on the live stream. This video, we don't want to show up in the main screen. So on this, I would actually right click on it and I would say specific outputs. And I would say this text needs to go to the primary only. And you'll see that little primary icon show up there. And if it was more, I think it would just show multiple. But the video, I'm going to right click on that one and I'm going to say specific outputs. And that one's only going to play on the live stream. All right. Now here's the kicker. For me, so the video is going to likely probably show up as like a backdrop or something like that. The kicker is that if I were to play this, my default for my live stream removes the background because you see that it's got this, it's gray, right? So it's got a transparent background. So what I need to do is I need to turn that off so we can test this out. Okay, so let's go into our settings. And that's just one of my styles that I've got set up. And it may make some things go a little wonky, but that's okay. I'm going to make my live stream. So right now, what am I on? I got announcements, stream training, I think is what we are. So see how I got this background inactive and I got an upper default for FreeShow Friday lyrics and then upper thirds for FreeShow Friday scriptures, right? So I would turn my background back on. Boom. And that's on the style. So you'll see that it went completely blank in terms of covering up everything, but you can still hear me. So if I turn that off, because it's showing, it literally is my live stream feed is what's showing up at the bottom of the screen down there. That's literally a part of my live stream, that little overlay down there. So I'd have to turn that on. So just bear with me. I'm trying to think if I could just share my screen. Let's say full share. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. Let me turn off. I'm gonna turn off the overlay though. So I'm gonna turn that off so you guys can't see that. All right, so we got some text. I'm gonna turn on the background option. All right. And I had to turn off OBS so you can see. So now my live stream and my primary look the same. Okay. And you can see that there in the corner, upper right. Now I'm going to go ahead and play that slide. So if I go to show, this is the slide that we added the video to. When I click on it, look at what happens. The video is playing here and the lyrics are shown here. This is my primary in-house and this is my live stream. And they can do that. You could definitely do that. And so that would be my recommendation. And if there was audio to this particular one and you're using NDI to send that video signal out, then you would just turn on your, for me, I call it FS live stream. So FreeShow live stream in OBS, I would just turn on the audio for that particular source and the audio would come through. Okay. But it wouldn't be, if you, it just depends on how you run your audio actually. So yeah, totally up to you, but that's definitely possible. And that's literally just a part of the edit screen there. So you can right click on any particular item and make it go to a specific output. That's the best solution that I can think of for the situation that you posed or that you brought up. And hopefully that helps. Let me know if you tried out. I'm curious. You don't leave us hanging when you do try it. I want to know. All right. Let me see if I do. Oh, I got to go back and change my settings real quick. And I'm going to turn off my background again. So you guys won't see that. Well, it stayed up there, which is cool because it's just a video. So it didn't show, that video didn't make the video be a background, which is cool. If I go back to show and I do split share, see how that video is just over the top of everything. And so that's how that is. So I can turn it off. All right. So then I got this showing up. So my live stream shows the text, which not necessarily important right now. So I'll turn that off. All right. And go back to topic 2 and turn off that. All right. Hopefully that makes sense for you to see an idea of how you can utilize your lyrics and your videos, 2 separate outputs. All right. And then let's see here. So Dave says, okay, I think that'll work. Big L, S305. Can you import pastor's notes if they are bulleted in Microsoft Word in the stage view? You possibly could. Microsoft Word. That would be the challenge. I don't have Microsoft Word. I got Pages for Apple, but I'm always leery because even though I can export in a Microsoft document, I don't trust it in terms of it being a good example for people that use Microsoft. So I don't usually do anything that has to do with anything Microsoft like PowerPoint or Word, just because I can't trust that that's going to be the same experience you're going to have because I'm still converting it from an Apple document. But let's think about what you're asking, Big L. So can you import pastor's notes if they're bulleted in Microsoft Word in the stage view? And let's see here. So Al says when you edit, he was talking about adding slide notes. When you edit a slide, you can go to options and add a note. That's true. I know that part, but the issue with it was how do we get that to show up on the stage view? And so what you were saying is exactly what I was thinking as well. And so if you want to show the notes from the slide, so you can edit a slide and you can go to options and you can add slide notes. So we can go, I'm gonna go to this slide here. And let me get the slide text off of there. And boom. All right. And so if we go to edit, this is good. This is exactly what my goal is, at least. And my computer's running slow, you guys, just because of OBS. I'm doing a lot of stuff. That's all it is. But it feels like it's running slow. All right. The thought. Okay, so we got this particular slide. If we go to the right over here, next to items, there's a little arrow. You got an option for notes for this particular slide. All right. So we got some notes in here. Now, bulletin notes, no, because this is just a blank thing. I don't know how to add I could put like a little dash. That would be my example of a bullet, I guess. But I'm not able to import into this trying to kind of address a couple of questions at the same time. But you can put dashes in there and paste it in and just put dashes in before it if you wanted to, right? So you can have it like that. Okay, so I got some notes there. If I go to my stage view and I added a text box. So I added an item, not the text, not slide text, but just a regular text box. And then you right click in that and select dynamic values, right? So your dynamic values, you can do slide notes next and just regular slide notes. So if I go here to slide notes, it's there, but let's see here. To sync plans, planning center. Okay, so let me go to my show. Where did I make those notes? Okay, so those notes are on this one. If I do a refresh, they should show up. There we go. Okay. So notes to make this slide special are showing up there, but I did not make that text auto fit. So I'm gonna make that text auto fit real quick so you guys can see what I'm doing. All right. So if I were to go here to this box and go into auto size, and now you'll see here, notes to make this slide special, and then 0.2 is there, but it's still too big. So I'm gonna go into it and I would just make it be a certain size. Let's say 50 to start out with. Let's see what that looks like. That's super small. Let's do 75. Okay. And it doesn't really put them in any special bulleted order or whatever, but it does have the notes there. So for what it is, right, there's not room to make the notes. That might be a good suggestion to add, like on Reddit or on GitHub, I believe it is what it is. You can make a suggestion for that. I like the idea to add bulletin notes in there because that's going to be the way typically people have their notes. That's how I make my notes, at least when I teach or preach or share. It's going to usually be with bullets. That's just because that's how I think. Some people make their notes and they make them in paragraphs, which is cool too. All right. Let's see here. When you edit a slide, you can go to options. Yep. So we add the note, and hopefully that answered a couple of questions. Let's see here. Dave says there's no sound on the video. We play the audience singing the song. And where do you stream it from, David? What streaming platform are you using for that? Because I'm guessing you're talking about for your live stream. I think we talked about that already. What streaming platform are you using? And then are you using NDI for that to get it to it? Like OBS, I use NDI. What do you use to get your video to your live stream? And then Al says, this is where it would be helpful if there were formatting options in the notes. I completely agree, Al. Like I said, I love the idea. Al, have you ever made a submission or a suggestion on GitHub or on Reddit, for example? And let me turn off this stuff covering up my face. Because I'm looking at this other screen. I don't always look down to see what's showing up in OBS for you guys. So forgive me. But I'm curious. Let's see here. Yeah, let me know, Al, if you ever made a suggestion, because that would be, I want you to get credit. I mean, I say get credit. They don't give credit out for it, but I would love for you to consider, if you're comfortable doing it, make that suggestion in there in GitHub. It'll be a cool idea to have. So he says, okay, so you go directly to the ATM. Got you. Okay, so if you're going straight to the ATM with your live stream feed, is that right? If that's the case, okay, so let's think about this. So you got output coming from your computer, from your live stream, going out, and you got a video. The video, if it has audio, the only thing you would need to do is you probably need to change the routing on your computer to make sure that your what am I trying to say here? I'm thinking about, if I were to do that, I would say for audio, you can go to your settings here and you can go to audio settings and you say custom audio output, and you can go into where you want to go out of, right? So it should default to, if you plug in headphone port, headphone jack out of your computer, whatever. You should be able to select that, and then make sure on your computer that you've got your audio settings set up properly as well. But that's where your audio is coming from. Your computer is what it sounds like. So it should be as simple as that. Um, that's my first thought. And so, hmm. Okay, let me ask you this. So I take that back, David. You're pulling the audio from a HDMI cord, is my guess. Is that right? So you got your computer connected to your ATEM through HDMI, or is it directly from the computer audio to the ATEM audio port? Let me know, because if you're doing it directly from the HDMI and you're actually sharing the screen from your computer, then you need to activate the audio on the ATEM for that channel. So if you got it in HDMI 2 on the ATEM, then you need to go to the ATEM and activate HDMI 2 audio. Or yeah, I've got an ATEM Mini ISO. Let me know which kind of ATEM you're using. I got an ATEM Mini Pro ISO, and on mine I've got. Look, I guess I can just unplug all this stuff. Hold on. All right, so I don't have any power on it, but on my ATEM, let me see here. There is 1, 2, 3, and 4 inputs that correlate to my HDMIs on the back. You know that already if you got one of these. But at the top of each of these, I've got audio follows video. I've got a reset button. Let me make sure I can show you. And then I've got on, off. You will need to turn on the audio for that particular output. So if you're in output 2, you turn on 2 by switching to it by hitting the 2 button. But then you got to turn on the on button for the audio to come out of there, if that's what you're dealing with. Let's see here. He said the video goes into input 3. Audio comes from the soundboard. Okay. So let me switch this up so you can see my screen a little bit better. I don't think you got to see anything I said. But so if you got your audio coming in from the soundboard, so it's coming in from mic 1 or 2, which makes sense. And that means you got mic 1 or 2 on, right? So this is on for mic 1, this is on for mic 2. Now, the soundboard is coming in from there. So now what you need to do is you need to route your audio from your computer into your soundboard, right? So what you would do is kind of what I did earlier is you would go into FreeShow and make sure your audio settings are sending the audio from FreeShow out to that particular, usually it's a headphone port or something like that. Um, and like I said, most computers will default to that. And so if that's the case, I'm trying to think about what else would cause that to not work? Because I'm using NDI audio on OBS right now for my intro video. When you hear the music playing and whatever, you see the little map intro video playing, that is all playing through NDI audio directly into OBS, and then OBS is live streaming it. And so if I wanted to get the audio out, which is what I used to do, I would actually run the audio from my soundboard. So I'd actually plug my computer up to my soundboard with a cord, and actually this cord right here. So I just used a little, you know, headphone port cord, and I would plug that into my audio on my soundboard. And then what I did, this might be what you could do, not what you need to do. I actually run my audio out of my soundboard directly into a camera. And then I use my camera as my main audio, and I just turn that audio on. So everything runs through my camera so it stays in sync when I was using my ATEM. That would be something to consider as well. Run your audio directly to your camera and then turn the camera input, the HDMI input on for that. That's an idea, at least. Let's see here. So data, video, SE65 digital video switcher. It sounds serious. I don't know. Wait. So data video, that's your switcher. So it's not an ATEM. Digital video switcher. Okay. Been using this as long as we have been using ProPresenter. Okay. That makes sense. But I guess the issue is, why isn't it coming out? I would try that, test it out with that custom audio output that we've got up here. That would be my thought, is that it might be that you just need to make sure that it's literally coming out of there. And this is the best way to do it, is to set the custom audio output for that. Great question. What other questions do you guys have about? I keep switching over because I got it set to do that. But about stage view, about free show in general. Like I said, this has been a good discussion about some thoughts, and it's good to hear too that some of you all are still dealing with that. I'm gonna call it the learning curve. That's literally what it is. It's just that learning curve of feeling comfortable to switch from your current program into free show is a big deal, and I get that. I get that, especially because there's so much riding on that. Right, there's a lot going on that your ministry is they're relying on you to make sure everything is seamless. Let's see here. So Al says, I entered an enhancement request for the notes. Sweet, sweet. Good stuff. I appreciate that. Uh, David says, I have no problem with audio. Oh, I thought you said that it was not coming out. I'm sorry. He said there's no sound. Oh, you're just saying there's no sound on the video. You just say your video doesn't have any sound on purpose. Never mind. So we play the audience singing the song. Completely overlooked it. I'd read it at a glance. So that makes sense. So you're saying there's no need for audio, but you do need still to have that video and you want to be able to hear the audience. That makes sense. Yeah. So that would be the way to do it, is to go to the edit screen and just right click on each item that you want to play and then decide which output you want it to play on, right? So this is going to go to the primary, for example, in-house, and then this one would go to the live stream by going to specific outputs, and you literally just pick whichever one you've got that you have on your in your output settings. So that's a simple look. I went a roundabout way to a whole problem that didn't even exist, man. I'm sorry. But hopefully that helps somebody, because it could be a problem for others. But hopefully that I solved a future problem for somebody. But for what you're talking about, hopefully that makes sense though, to just go into your settings on that particular slide, which is the outro video, and set it to go to the live stream, and format it how you want it to be on the live stream. Everything is formatted the same way. It's all on one slide, so it can get wonky. I would just do your text on top of everything so you can actually see it as you're editing, but it won't show up on the live stream. Even though it's there, you can see it. It won't show up on the primary unless that's what you've got it set to do. In terms of the video, won't show up on the primary and so forth. It'll split it out. If I get this down, I will be ready to switch. Hey, I don't mind that. It may help someone else. Yeah, hopefully it does. But yeah, that is literally the best solution, I would say, for what you're talking about. And then I'm trying to think. I don't think you can set up an action that'll do that automatically, because you really wouldn't need to. It sounds like that particular portion is something that I would just add that into your template for your project, like your project template for each service. So if I go to my shows, and I go back out and I'm going to all my different projects, I got a bunch of these. So I've got like these templates down here. I got a Free Show Friday template. I got a podcast template. That's just stuff I've been playing with, right? Sunday template, and then the Sunday with stage template, and the Wednesday. You could just make it a part of your template. And so if I go back, let's see here. I don't want to show all that. Let's see here. I think I got one of these. There is not. Maybe not. They all up there. Okay. So Sunday, if I go into it, so I made this template that has an opening section, a worship section, a teaching section, a closing section, right? This is what you would do every Sunday, and all you're doing is changing out the actual song slides, and you're changing out the actual speaking notes. But your closing would ideally be the same every week. So you would have put your announcement or your what you call the outro invitational lyrics in the closing, and you make that be your slide. So I got this little fake announcement stuff here. So don't act like this is real, but you literally would pick what you want by going into your edit, and you would say, okay, I want this to show up on the live stream, and I want this background or this video to show up, or the video to show on the live stream and the lyrics to show up on the in-house, by just right clicking specific items, and you're good to go. But yeah, let me know if that works for you. Like I said, I would love to hear how it works out in terms of you feeling comfortable, because that's the main thing, is being comfortable. Let's see here. So Al says our church is still using PowerPoint, but I'm working on them to convert to free show. Al, what have been the reasons why when you say you're working with them to convert, what role do you play in the ministry, for one? And then what does it take for you to work with them to do it? Is it the way that they're making their notes? because they can keep making them in PowerPoint and then you just import the text. But if they're doing something, are they doing something special in PowerPoint, right? So and I'm asking other questions. Just answer the one that makes sense, right? That's relevant. So I don't feel like you got to answer every single thing. But are they literally like designing their slides and putting animations in PowerPoint and all that kind of stuff? And they really like doing that, and there's somebody that's designated to do it that's not a part of the media team, or the pastor doing it, for example, and they don't want to do it a different way? Or is it simply your learning curve because you're the ministry leader for media and you're trying to learn how to do this and make it be seamless where they don't feel it, in a sense, right? That's the idea, at least in my mind, as a media leader. I wouldn't want anybody in the church to feel like we're lacking or that we're taking a step down because of my learning curve. I would keep it where it is, kind of like what David was dealing with. It's like, I don't want to take away something that we typically do by switching. I want to make sure that it only either keeps the standard or improves it, right? Um, so let me know, Al, about that. And so, Dave, you're saying we have a main screen background. Okay. Yeah, yeah, that could still be there. Right. So your main primary screen, that background is set up, I would think you can. This is how I would do it, at least. I would set that up in your style for your primary, right? So my outputs right now, I got my primary output is set to default style. Okay. So what I would do is I would go to my styles, and my default style down here, the background color is black. You can make that be your image that you have if you want to, and you can make that actually automatically be an action that you would drag on to your that would be a good reason to have an action. If you don't want it to be that way throughout service, but you only want it for that show, then you would go to your functions and actions, and you would just drag that to that first slide. It'll automatically switch to that background that you're talking about that you got, right? So you said that yeah, your main screen has a background. Yeah. So Al, okay, let's see. Let's see which ones you answered. I asked a bunch of questions. The pastor does his own slides, okay, and he only knows PowerPoint. Makes sense. I want to show him the benefits of using FreeShow. PowerPoint can't do what FreeShow can. Okay, so what I would say is consider the discussion around asking the pastor how he makes his notes. Is he making them in Microsoft Word, for example, and then putting them into PowerPoint, or does he automatically just out the gate put those into PowerPoint? Like he's typing out scriptures manually and all that stuff and putting that into PowerPoint? If so, yeah, this is going to be a major, major benefit to where he doesn't have to add any scriptures unnecessarily, but he can. He can just put the reference in there for you, and you can literally put that stuff in real time right before service, for example, would be my thought. And then you said you do the streaming and the audio mixing. Okay. The pastor uses a remote to advance his PowerPoint slides. Okay. I love it. What is he? Okay. He uses a remote. The remote thing could be a small issue. The thing that would have to replace the remote would either be a phone or a tablet or another computer, which is either of those is all fine, but it's really up to them as their preference. So do they have a computer up there while your pastor's teaching or anything like that? Okay, he has his notes on paper, and I want to put his notes on the stage display. So he uses PowerPoint because like PowerPoint can show the notes too. But he doesn't have a separate computer to show him, does he? Does he? He doesn't have like a computer that's on the podium with him where he can see the slide notes. Because like when I do keynote presentations, when I preach or teach or something like that, and I use my computer, I'll have my slide here and my text here showing what it is, but it'll be outputting just the main display to everybody else, for example. But my screen is showing two different it's two different screens. You know, showing the notes and then the other the main stuff that everybody else can see. But if his notes are on paper and you want to put his notes on the stage, he really, technically, he can keep his notes on paper. That would be ideal to start at like the transition. Let him keep his notes on the paper. This is a thought. And then all he does is give you the slideshow, right? The PowerPoint. I say give whoever, somebody that's going to run FreeShow because you're busy. You're managing, let's see, you said you're managing the streaming and the audio mixing. So that would be a thought. Keep the notes on the paper. If he's comfortable doing that, I wouldn't take that away from him. But for the presentation part of it, is he, I'm trying to think about how he's got, it depends on how he formats his notes, right? So for me, my notes, some people make their notes to where they say everything that's on their notes anyway. And then other people make their notes to where they'll make a bullet that they want to be seen, and then they'll have points that they don't want to be seen that are their notes, right? And so if you can understand that system, or whoever's on the team or somebody else on the team can understand that system, they can literally extrapolate, okay, we need to have this piece, and this piece. So when you import it, you literally can just delete everything in between and just keep those main bullets and make those be the main slides. That's a thought. Let's see here. So he says, we have a stage display, but they have it set as the same as the main displays, which is typical. I understand that. And if you do switch and start doing the main display, I mean, a stage display, you're going to have it come from a different input. So you need to have a switch or splitter, I should say, for your HDMI signals to be different from whatever computer is the slideshow computer, if that makes sense. So you need to have two separate outputs to get that info to one computer, one TV monitor or whatever projector you got, different than the ones that are on the front for the audience to see. They're going to have to come from two different lines, right? HDMI lines or something like that. And then Zhao's saying, welcome. It says, okay, so one question, can you ask the FreeShow makers to add more Indian Christian songs? Indian Christian songs. That's a good question. So I don't think there's any songs in FreeShow that I know of, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I know they got the Bibles. So are you talking about adding more Bibles, right? So we got media templates, scriptures. We got scriptures that we add in here. Are there Indian Bibles that are here that you need? But in terms of the Christian songs, all I say all. So I think what you're talking about is the shows option. So you go into shows and you say new show, and Zal, let me know. And you type in name, I'm gonna say new Indian song, and you do a web search for it. You got to type in that Indian song in the Indian. So forgive me, I don't know what this stuff says. So if it's, I don't know what it says. But this is literally just doing a web search. It's not doing anything related to FreeShow so much. It's literally pulling it from wherever those songs may be on the internet, right? And it pulls those lyrics in for you. And so if you can do a search and find the song on the internet, you should be able to find it here in FreeShow. That's literally all FreeShow is doing. FreeShow does not have a database of songs though, that they're pulling from when they do that, which hopefully that makes sense. Let's see here. David A says, everything you are saying is my church. Laugh out loud. My pastor has his notes below in PowerPoint notes. So he has his, okay, what I was talking about earlier. I think that's what you're saying. Or are you talking about what Al is dealing with? That my pastor has his notes below in PowerPoint notes. Yeah. That's how I do mine's. Keynote is kind of the same way, as if they just show up there. So he's looking on his computer for his notes and he can see the slide as well. Yep. So Zal, let me know if that makes sense in terms of how the search works for the videos or the songs, I'm sorry, in FreeShow. But let's see here. Now it is available in internet, but does not show in the web search. Really? Now that I don't know. I'm not sure. I guess the question then becomes, what is FreeShow searching from? So there's some catalog on some website that they're using. That's a question we need to ask. That's a good question. So Zal, I would say, can you go into, and this is another request, look, I'm asking y'all to do a lot of work, but we are a community here, so we all work together. So if you can't figure it out or do it, let me know, and I can try to do it as well. But I would say this is a question that's good for Reddit. So if you go to Reddit and do a search for FreeShow, like that topic, you'll see a whole list of different things that people have asked. I would submit a new one and just ask, where's the database or the databases, the web databases for the songs that FreeShow is pulling from, and then say, hey, here's a song, because that's the reason why it's best that you do it possibly, is that you can give them a song, say, hey, I was looking for this song. It doesn't show up on FreeShow, but this is where I can find it on the internet, and you show that link as well. And that may give them room to figure out how to update to get it from the source that you may have that they didn't know about. I always, for whatever reason, thought it was just pulling up songs from anywhere on the internet. And apparently that's not the case if you can find it online, but not in FreeShow. Oh, you said what Al is dealing with. Yeah, yeah. So David, you're looking to try to figure out how to transition to FreeShow as well, right? So you guys are using PowerPoint and trying to figure out how to make that work. Um, I would say the best thing is to have that communication, and it can be uncomfortable. I don't know how you all's relationship is with your pastor, but talking with them to figure out how they make their notes, and that could be sensitive. So I'm saying that sensitively, and then I would go to um, in FreeShow in this file and import option. I would go to this text and I would import the PowerPoint notes from them, and then you can have control over what shows up. And it takes that communication though. It's going to take some communication to make that work for you and for them, because they probably never everybody's pastors and teachers or whatever, they're very unique on how they treat their notes. I know I've worked with some pastors where they don't want to give me their notes until they show up to the meeting, because they're sacred to those notes are important to them. They may not even have the final notes ready until that time, and they may have been working on it for the last couple of weeks, but they're not finalized until they show up, and they want to be sensitive to that. Others, they can have them to me 2 or 3 days ahead of time, and that's it, because they have a day where they make their notes and they're done, and that's it. But all that to say that I know every minister, every leader is going to be unique in how they approach their notes. But for you all, I would stick with this text option of importing your PowerPoint slides, or the better option to me is getting it from them just in a Word document or just text. And they can just send that to you in an email. Hey, these are my notes. And they can just make bold maybe in the email. They can just copy and paste it and make the stuff bold that they want to show up on the slide. And then the stuff that's notes, you can just put that into the notes section. That's not bold. Okay. Um, how can you help me do the process? Okay, so like search for the song Hazuri. Yeah, I can help you do the process. Zal, will it let you put a link in here where you can find that song Hazuri? Send me that link in the if it lets you put it in the chat, that's great. If not, it might let you do it in the comments later. That would be what I would need, because I want to be able to know where I can find that song. All right. And then Tayo says, I like to use video song for hymns in other language. Interesting. So they have a whole database of songs. You're saying, Taya, it says you can import video song in the FreeShow. That's a good idea. So Zal, that's a good idea. See if you is video song free? I've never used it. Video song. Yeah, so it's free. So that would be something to consider. I've never used it, so I'm curious. That's good. Um, GB Media. Hey Gary, is it possible to import ProPresenter 7 animated titles into FreeShow? It depends on the format. So if it's a video format or a GIF, I believe you can, but it won't take a ProPresenter 7 animated title file, if that makes sense. So in here, if I go up here to ProPresenter and I say, or not ProPresenter, but to file and import, you can import like text from ProPresenter, right? So like songs that you might export. This is all the text section. All these things are things you can import from text format. Media wise, lessons.church, PowerPoint and Keynote, and then PDF. The ones that work best are going to be lessons.church and probably PDF. When I try to import Keynote stuff, at least in the past, I haven't done it with 1.4.1 yet, but there's usually some glitching with it. But I can just, what I usually do with my slides, I make them into an image. I don't even keep them in a Keynote format. I just make them into images and just bring them in as images and put them on my slides. So GB Media, I like that name. That's my initials, GB. So I like that. But yeah, let me know if that makes sense. So if you can export those as a GIF or turn them into a GIF, that would be fine. But or a video file, that'll be fine. You can actually run that in FreeShow without a problem. Big L says, I'm a one-man show technically, and my apostle is working with me on the transition to FreeShow before he's work. Before old CPU crashed. So I have to get BitFocus Companion to sync with FreeShow OBS video feed NDI. And thanks to you. Yeah, I did see that it is free. That's great. Big L, yeah. So I feel you on that. That if you're a one-man band, FreeShow with Companion and OBS, like I'm literally, that's what I'm doing now. I don't know who told me. I think David might have said it, that I need to do some better, get some co-producer or something like that. But check out my BitFocus Companion video if you haven't already, and you can see literally what I did to set mine up, and it's really functional, to me at least, to where you can literally run the show in terms of, and I say run the show, you probably can run the show completely from FreeShow without a problem, right? For me, the reason I do it this way is because I need to be able to do it because I'm also the presenter. If I wasn't the presenter, BitFocus will be fine, but I would probably still be, our Companion is fine, but I would probably just use FreeShow and do everything real time, which is what I do when I do ministries remotely. I help them with their live stream. I'm literally just typing out notes in the variables under functions. I'm literally typing out the lower thirds right here, real time. And that's another benefit of using the lower thirds thing as well, is that if that, I would definitely do that for that conditions piece. Going back, I'm going way back, you guys. When we talked about the first impressions and the condition to say, if the text is empty, then don't show this, right? That would be a reason for me to use that. Is where I can make a lower thirds overlay, um, like a box, I guess. And then in that box, I would have text, space for text. There would be dynamic value text, like a right click and add dynamic value. And then I would make that be a way that I can turn it on and off, and it'll make the lower thirds box go on and off, which, yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, that's going to be really cool condition wise. I really like that. In my head, at least, it makes sense. So GB MIDI. Oh yeah, no problem. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, with your question about free or ProPresenter. Yep. All right. What other questions do you guys have before I wrap up? I'm about to let you guys go. It's about 12:38 on my end, and I got to go to a meeting here at 1. So thank you guys for your time. And ladies, if the ladies on, I appreciate it. More importantly, you all are media leaders in your ministries, and you're serving. And I admire and appreciate what you guys are doing. And I want to encourage you to continue to do it. And I can hear the sincerity and the genuineness of how willing you are to try to learn something new, but also that sensitivity to say, I don't want to disrupt or be a hindrance in our service, which that to me is the makings of a great media person, right? A volunteer, leader, whatever it is. That's my approach to it as well. You guys have heard me say it many times if you've listened to me for any amount of time, that for me, my approach to doing media is like, I used to watch Ninja Turtles growing up as a kid. And so they would just vanish. Like they would drop a little smoke bomb and they would disappear, right? And they would always talk about lurking in the shadows and never really being seen. But they would kick butt, they would do what they got to do and all this kind of stuff. I always associated myself with being a media ninja in that sense, is that I want to be effective, but I don't want to be seen, right? And so for you guys, when you're making these transitions from other programs, a lot of respect for knowing what you know already with the current program, and then trying to figure out how to make it to where when you switch to a new program, none of the functioning is lost, right, for the ministry. And that's important, no matter what. And like I said, I'm gonna continue to do as many free show videos as I can to help that transition happen. Continue to jump on and ask questions, because that's going to be helpful for me to kind of help in that conversion possibility for you guys, and what's holding you back and all that kind of stuff. That's important to me. So hopefully that helps. And meetings like this are always fun. I'm gonna work on doing some things. I got to figure out, I would love to do like a Zoom meeting with you guys. And this is something that I wouldn't be able to do it for free. But I know so many people from so many different places, speak different languages. It would have to be for English speaking audiences only, because that's all I speak, unless you have an interpreter, right, or a translator that can be on there with you, where we can do some hands-on, where you can share your screen and walk through and show us what you're dealing with, and I can give you some real life feedback on your device using a Zoom meeting. So let me know if you're interested in something like that. I'm throwing it in this conversation. So anybody else that watches this along the lines, leave a comment below to let me know if you would be interested in being a part of a live Zoom meeting with me, at a cost, of course, but it wouldn't be extraneous to me, because I would probably have no more than probably 5 to 10 people on at a time for each meeting. And that's something I do that currently now with ministries back home in Kansas City. I do it twice a month, I should say. Well, not twice a week, but twice a month, where we do some updates and things like that. I usually am the one sharing my screen because I already helped them locally when I was there sharing, set up their stuff. Now I'm just teaching them stuff. But for you guys, it would be more of a virtual consultation in a group setting, right? Let's see here. GB Media, how do you add motion background to the show? I keep trying and failing. I absolutely love FreeShow. So motion backgrounds are you literally have to just have a video that is a motion background video, and it'll automatically loop if you activate it as, let me show you here. So if you go into your media, and I've got clean backdrops. I got some video backdrops. Okay, so video backdrops here. If I were to, so I got a few motion ones that I've used. I like this orange one for some reason. Orange is becoming my favorite color these days. So if I click on that, it automatically shows up here, and notice that it's just a motion background, but it's a video that is on my computer in the folder called video backdrops, and video backdrops is in a folder called YOLO box files, because I had a YOLO box that I was using all this stuff on as well, and I had them on an SD card. And then that YOLO box files, I believe, is in my documents folder, I think. But I just dragged that folder in here. So you just say new folder, and then I say drag. I hit new folder, and I searched on my computer and added these folders here. So I got pictures, videos, and all that stuff. They're still on my computer. This just points to them for me. And I've got those video motion backgrounds. I've made them in Canva or on DaVinci Resolve. However you want to make your motion background, or grab it, download it from Adobe if you want to. I've got a lot of ministries I work with that do that, or some of them, I should say. And that's where they get their motion backgrounds from. And then they just play them in FreeShow that way. And all you do is simply click it, and it'll just play, and it'll loop on its own. This video is probably, let me see, it'll show us how long it is typically. This video is 15 seconds, and it just loops. So motion backgrounds, copy, and it's just showing, that's the name of it actually, but it's just showing how long it is there, and it just loops through, right? Let's see here. David A, interested. Okay, that's good to hear about the Zoom thing, I'm guessing. And then Albert Harris, welcome, my friend, says, I would love this, as I need to know how to send via NDI so I can use this as a source for my live stream with Ecamm. Yes, and I think you might have had a question about that early on, and I was doing some overview stuff. But the simplest way to get your NDI output for Ecamm, I've never used Ecamm, but if it can take an NDI signal, you just go to your settings in FreeShow and then go to your outputs. And then from here, you would literally have access to all your outputs. They all show up down at the bottom, and you can add as many as you need to. I've got a live stream one that's active, and that's the little checkbox. I've got a primary one that's active. That's the one that's orange right now. My live stream is completely transparent because that's what's showing up. Like I said, down at the bottom, when I hit clear topic right now, you'll see the little white box go away. That's my NDI feed showing up for you guys from my live stream. It's just completely transparent. And then I've got it to where it's on OBS. So instead of Ecamm, I use OBS. And so when you get to your outputs, you would just go down to enable NDI, and you just turn it on. Hit the little blue box. And then if you need the audio from it as well, you would turn on the audio for that, and it'll come through NDI as well, perfectly fine. I use it through OBS all the time. And then if you wanted the background to be transparent, like you're going to show video feed and put this lyrics and all that stuff on top of it, like lower thirds or upper thirds, then you want to turn on the transparent as well. And so let me show you my live stream just to make it clear. So my live stream has transparent on, and it has invisible window on. And the invisible window basically means it's an output, but I'm not pointing to any HDMI screen. It's literally just a virtual screen. So it works for NDI completely fine, but I don't have it tied to an actual screen on my computer that is showing. It literally is just showing through NDI directly to OBS. All right. Let's see here. All right, folks, that is my time. Hopefully that helps. Let me know in the comments later on. Like I said, if you would like to be a part of the Zoom, just say yes to Zoom or something like that, and that'll help me kind of navigate. And I'll just probably, if you're not on my mailing list, if you never downloaded a product from me or products, I've got a lot of free products online. The Bibles, the XML Bibles are on my website on GaryBJr.com. A lot of lower thirds and upper thirds templates for FreeShow are there as well. I do have motion backgrounds, but they're not free. So you can download those from me if you wanted to. I've customized them to where they work well with white text by default. And that means they kind of got some shading to them to where they're visible even if they are brighter. And then there's some tutorials and courses and things like that. So feel free to go there. If you've ever signed up to anything, you have to make sure to check to say, yes, you want to be a part of, I think it's just a subscriber or something like that, or a mailing list. And I can send you emails, and I'll send this out to my mailing list. I don't know. I guess I can figure out a way to make it available or make it known to people on YouTube by making a video about it, but I typically don't do that. I'll just send it out in an email to those who have signed up to anything and selected to subscribe, meaning they'll want to get an email from me. You'll hear more about that for those who have joined in that way. Okay. So Albert, yes to Zoom. You bought the class. Excellent. Excellent. And then you, sir, or Jim, and how you articulate. Thank you. Have a great day. I appreciate that. You guys are awesome. And I appreciate the community you guys have created and just being interested in this particular product. I'm just like you guys. And I'm just excited about FreeShow. And so when I see anything new about it, we're going to talk about it. We're going to play with it. We're going to learn about it. And we're going to try to grow with this thing together to where we can see every nation of the world be able to use this and use it effectively. That's my goal. So bless you guys. God bless you guys, and have a great rest of the day.